They improved to 3-4, now tied with the Cardinals at 3-4, who, of course, will face the Dolphins on the road. And then the 49ers, 3-4, they host the Cowboys on Sunday night. Seahawks still, they sit at the top of the division at 4-3, and they will host the Buffalo Bills. Eric Williams joins us, NFC beat writer for Fox Sports, joins us here on the Right to It guest sign. How you doing, Eric? What's going on? How's your Friday today?
My Friday's going great. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Was there a face mask call at the end of that game last night?
Yeah,
did you happen to see that? I mean, I don't know. I saw it, Manuch.
Yeah, very clear to me.
Eric, did you see it?
I did see it, and I cover the UFL, for Fox, and it's nice because they correct these things right on the spot. They have Mike Pereira in the video booth, and they're able to correct it within seconds. And it's sad that the minor league football league is able to do that, but we can't do that at the highest level. It doesn't make any sense at all.
You think that they might go to a challenge and get the challenge calls like that eventually? I mean, you talk about the UFL. Why are they so much more advanced with something like that was so plainly obvious, and maybe the other official can't make the call? Did they all miss it on the line of scrimmage?
I just think it's bureaucracy, and it's the NFL. It's up to the owners to do it as well, and so the owners have to be on board with making these changes. But I just think it's like a big aircraft carrier in terms of the NFL changing things, and it shouldn't be that hard. I mean, it's pretty obvious that the call was missed. You would think somebody would be in their ear and say, "Hey, we missed that one. Why don't you guys get together and let's throw the flag on that?" Instead, we have a game in like it did. Where the Vikings should still have the football and still have a chance to tie that game up. So it needs to be changed. It's an obvious thing, but sometimes with the NFL, they don't get this stuff done quickly.
As Rock alluded to, this NFC West could be anybody's at this point in the season. But does Cooper Kupp trade rumors put to rest after last night's game? Nakua's in it. Stafford looked like the all-pro that he is. That was a different-looking team than we've seen the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, having both Cooper and Nakua, top 2 receivers, now they can kind of run the full complement of their offense. Sean McVay said that, basically Cooper staying, that's the expectation, kind of leaving the door ajar a little bit. But you'd have to think, like you said, at 3-4 and just a game out, with a lot of games still left to play, and Sean McVay is not into rebuild. He's in to try to years ago. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Cooper's not the same player, obviously. He's been a little injury prone the last couple of years, had trouble staying on his feet. Not as much juice when you watch him run around in the open field. Really smart player. One of the best that receiver, and like a coach on the field in terms of that offense. And so I don't think they would get as much value in terms of how much he means to that team. And I think that's one of the reasons you won't see them move off of him.
Eric, the Seahawks changed coaches this offseason, kept their GM and John Snyder. Are you surprised that they're at the top? I mean, if you went into the season, I think they were 3rd behind the 49ers and Rams when it came to the betting lines on how many wins they would have. Because they seemed, I don't know, I'm not going to speak from Manuch, but quietly, no one's talking about them, at least from in this city. I don't know anybody's talking about Seahawks. And that's maybe the way they want it.
I'm sure that's the way they want it with the first-year head coach, Mike McDonald. I think they're kind of about where I expected them to be. I thought they would win 7 to 8 games. Defensively, I think they've kind of been up and down. When you look at their performance, they played pretty well against Atlanta, really struggled against the Niners, and they've lost 5 straight against the Niners. And so that tells me they're not where they want to be in terms of talent level and team building. This is going to be an important game for them to see if they're the real deal playing at home against Buffalo, against the top flight offense. When they played against teams that are legitimate playoff contenders, they've struggled. Niners, Lions on the road. And so for me, I still feel like, second half of the season, they might kind of come back to the rest of the pack a little bit. They also have the Rams after the Bills.
Yeah, it seems as though DK Metcalf's got a little chip on his shoulder because of what Rock alluded to. Nobody's giving him the love. Geno Smith's even mention that. I mean, it's kind of like, oh, guys, just play and shut up. I laugh, but it seems like they might have a little more juice that way. Maybe, Eric, when you talk to those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, DK's a little feisty, huh?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I wrote something this week suggesting that, maybe the Chargers should be trying to get DK down there with Justin Herbert. I mean, you watch the Chargers offense, and you can't have your run blocking tight end being your number one target.
Yes.
And not being able to score. And so I think DK would give them some juice in the perimeter. He knows their receiver coach, Sanjay Lal, was a receiver coach with the Seahawks. And just from Seattle's perspective, even though they're 4-3, let's be honest, they're rebuilding right now with a first-year head coach. DK has one more year left on his contract. You've seen him kind of arguing, with players on the sideline, getting on the headset to tell, new offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb to give him the football more. And I just don't know if you want to sign on another, lucrative contract to somebody like that, and you're trying to rebuild if you're the Seahawks. But I think for the Chargers, it would make sense because I feel like they're a little closer to being able to compete for a Super Bowl, and it gives them a young receiver to kind of grow with Herbert. So, I mean, you're right. DK, I don't think he's going to play today. Or this weekend. I think he's doubtful because of a knee. But I just think long term, in terms of where that team is, and because of he's a high maintenance guy, I think it might make sense for Seattle to move off of him.
And then you look at the 49ers, the mash unit they are. It looks as though Debo, from our accounts, you could probably tell us, Eric, looks like he's going to go. Aside from that, Kittle, Christian McCaffrey's out for a while. This is a banged up unit.
Mm-hmm.
What's Shanahan's way of operation? When you look at this team, they've still outscored their opponents 100 to 180 to 158.
Yeah.
They're putting points, so they just can't win without those guys.
Yeah, I just think they need to play differently with those guys out, and I think they're maybe a little bit too aggressive offensively and not lenient enough on their defense in those situations when they're missing players on offense. I think if you're the Niners, you just want to get to the bye week. You have this game against the Cowboys you've pretty much owned over the last couple of years. You should win that game, particularly with Debo coming back. So if you can get to the bye at 4-4, I think they're probably going to get McCaffrey back after the bye week. It's a tough schedule. I believe that they play 7 playoff teams during the second half stretch. So they're going to be playing tough games, 5 of them at home. But I just feel like the way that this team is built, if they can get some of these, frontline players, playmakers back, with McCaffrey being a key part of that because he does so much on offense that they're unable to do when he's not in there. I expect him to be at the top of the division when it's all said and done.
Eric, are you hearing any trade rumors with Budda Baker to Minnesota or Green Bay or even James Conner being moved if something doesn't happen here or if the team, loses the next 2 games?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything in talking to sources around the league in terms of those guys being available. The people that I've talked to doesn't mean that they aren't shopping those guys. I just haven't heard it. I think if you're the Cardinals, I think you kind of stay pat at this point and play these games. See if you can get to 5-5 at the bye. If you can get 5 wins and then go into that last stretch of the season still being able to compete, I think it makes sense to hold on to those veteran guys and let it play out, and then you can figure out what you're going to do in the offseason. Obviously, they need pass rush help. I mean, if they could get somebody like Jadeveon Clowney or, Zadarius Smith, I mean, obviously people are going to talk about Hassan Reddick, but I don't think that's a possibility. I think he's probably going to be staying with the Jets. But they need a guy because of all the injuries they've sustained defensively to be a little bit more competitive in these games and not lean so much on their offense.
Eric, thanks for jumping on last minute. We appreciate you, man. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good weekend.
Sure. Have a good weekend as well.
You got it. Fox Sports' Eric Williams joining us, breaking down the NFC West for us. Again, there has been some rumblings that, Budda Baker, James Conner, because of their contracts, that they could be a couple guys that could be on the trading block. I'm sure Cardinal fans don't want to hear that. But if you can get something, if this team continues to slide, of course, you get a nice win on Monday against the Chargers. But if you go into Miami facing Tua and if this, what's his name, Tyreek Hill?
Tyreek Hill.
He steps up, one of the worst.
Waddle.
One of the worst seasons so far.
Well,
I think he's got 1 touchdown, if I'm
yeah,
not mistaken. He's on my fantasy. He's been horrible.
They're very excited that 1-2 I was coming back. To your point, Mark, the trade deadline is November 5th. I think the Cardinals the next 2 more weeks before that trade deadline. I think they'll stand pat. I really do.
Yeah.
Tough to win this week. And then next week, you got, 3 more games before the bye. At that point in time, it's going to be too late as far as any trades.
Eric joins us thanks to our friends at All City Towing. They are hiring. They are the largest towing company in the state. They're hiring dispatchers, call takers, lot attendants, drivers, customer service personnel. They got it all. And you can enjoy benefits like the state's most advanced towing equipment, set work schedules, the healthy 401k, employer match. They got the health benefits, the employer paid life insurance. How about a monthly fuel allowance as well? So if you're ready to take your career to the next level, visit them online at allcitytowing.com. All City Towing, where your future is on the move. Football at 50 is next. We'll talk more about Week 8 as it got underway last night. Plus, we'll get a quick look at the Sunday games. It's Rock and Minuch with Jimmy B, Fox Sports 910.